It now appears the opposition movement in Angola, UNITA, is going to go to the constitutional court in that country to challenge the results of their elections. They say they defeated the ruling MPLA and that the MPLA is refusing to give up power. Paula Cristina Roque is an independent political analyst who studies Angola. Paula, good afternoon to you. It's a strong claim by UNITA that the election was effectively stolen from them. Do they have evidence to back it up? Do they have evidence to support their claim that they won the election?
Good afternoon. They do. In fact, this is the fifth election Angola has had, and it's the only time UNITA has claimed that they've won these polls. They didn't have proof of that in the past, also because realistically they didn't in the past, but the level of dissatisfaction at the youth level within the cities across the country, I mean, we've had malgovernance for a few decades now and corruption. And so, yes, they have evidence. They are uploading as we speak thousands, tens of thousands of result sheets from the 13,000 polling stations. So they've done a parallel count that they say changes entirely what the MPLA, what the Electoral Commission says was an MPLA victory. UNITA claims that neither of those, of MPLA or UNITA, achieved more than 50%, but that UNITA won by a very narrow margin of 1.5%.
So how does it work? I mean, in our system, with our elections here in South Africa, opposition parties are a part of the counting process at every single step of the way, from the registration of voters through the voting to the counting to the way it gets sent to head office, at head office, etc. Is it like that in Angola? Because this is really about, in the end, the credibility of the Electoral Commission.
Well, that's exactly the issue. The Electoral Commission, like several of the other institutions that are there to ensure the transparency and credibility of the process, are very partisan. They don't have, they've never allowed. So, for example, in the final tallying process, only 5 commissioners of the 17 commissioners of the Electoral Commission signed the national and final result sheets. We had several delegates from the opposition. Now, it's not only UNITA, there were several other opposition movements that were also running in these elections. They didn't have access to the polling stations. They didn't have access to the registration of voters. In fact, civil society and the opposition claimed that there were 2.7 million voters in the voters' roll that shouldn't have been there. They were ghost voters. And so they should have been, the voters' roll should have been audited. It was never audited. They didn't have preparation of lists of where people were supposed to vote. So a lot of people ended up not voting. There was about a 55% abstention rate. Now, the National Electoral Commission is heavily tilted by MPLA and government representatives. It is not independent. The Constitutional Court that works here as an electoral court is also all the justices have in one way or another been connected to the ruling party. In fact, the Chief Justice, before she was appointed, was a member of the political bureau of the MPLA. And the Angolan media is reporting that a week before the elections, all the judges of the Constitutional Court were awarded a gift of 100 million kwanza, which comes to about $230,000. So it's a very, I mean, domestically, the legal order for UNITA, they are following it through, but I doubt that they will have any proper recourse to this.
Do people in Angola know all of this? If they know all of this, if they can see what you say, and if they accept your view that people in the court are getting gifts just before a really important vote, if they believe that the Electoral Commission is not actually conducting itself properly, is not independent, well, they themselves may reject the result. Where I'm going with this is, if people are aware of all of this, is there a fear there could be violence in Angola?
Definitely. In fact, Angola woke up this morning, not Angola, Luanda, the capital city, which represented 35% of the electorate. So this was the biggest chunk of the electorate, and UNITA won there. in fact, the government recognized that UNITA won the capital, woke up to a heavy militarized presence of rapid deployment police, anti-terror units, armored vehicles, firearms that are used in war scenarios. I mean, it's frightening that there's been such a mass deployment. The army was given a directive yesterday to be on full combat readiness. And also now this is where things become a little bit more interesting, is they also, the chief of staff of the army called on the police and military police to monitor unauthorized movements of military personnel and units, which kind of begs the question, are they thinking that this is a potential coup that could happen? UNITA, for now, they know their mobilization capacity. They know that if they were to tell their people in the capital, and they have millions of supporters, to let's march to the presidential palace, they would do it in a heartbeat. But UNITA knows that they would be met with tremendous force and tremendous violence, and they don't want bloodshed. So they have told their supporters, please remain calm, please stay disciplined, and we will let the leadership work to find recourse and to put back the electoral truth of you voted for us, you wanted change, so let us fight for it. Let's not take to the streets.
I mean, we've never seen in a situation here in South Africa where the police and actual military soldiers, maybe the officers but not the soldiers, have been politicized. We've absolutely seen it in Lesotho, where the police supported, I think, supported one candidate and the army supported another. Could the same thing be happening in Angola now?
Well, it's difficult. You know, when this president came in, when he took over from the previous president, he purged the security chiefs. He changed them. He didn't trust that they would be loyal to him. And then he staged a very difficult corruption drive, which people supported because, you know, they needed to clean up the public finances. But the corruption drive that João Lourenço initiated was a political purge. So he made a lot of enemies from within. But it isn't the generals that are the problem here. It's the rank and file. They are hungry. Their barracks are in complete disrepair. And it's interesting because in areas in Luanda where where polling stations were stationed in near barracks, UNITA won overwhelmingly. So the army and the police voted for UNITA. But at the same time, you have, I mean, this is a securitized state. It's a very complex security machinery. At the same time, the MPLA has been increasing the promotion of the police chiefs and lower-ranking police officers. It's been giving subsidies to intelligence officers. It looks after its presidential guard. So you have almost like parallel units that could counter any acts from within. I do not think there will be a coup. But I think that the situation is volatile. It's very dangerous. I would like to see some sort of international mediation, probably regional. But I know that our, President Cyril Ramaphosa has already congratulated João Lourenço. And I know that the AU and SADC endorsed these elections, even though they had only observers in the capital and in neither of the other 17 provinces.
Paula,
so
we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. A situation developing in Angola we need to pay a lot of attention to. Paula Cristina Roque is an independent political analyst who, as you can hear, focuses on Angola.